Hello, my name is John Rose, and in this video I'd like to take a closer look at a video I uploaded a couple days ago from Dr. Robert Morse. And there are two main points I want to convey in that video and are reflected in the title of that video. And that video I'm talking about is why did Trump win and why do some people hate him? Now, I started off that video by taking a special quote from Robert Morse and put it at the very beginning to emphasize how important this is as far as my message goes. The reason why Trump won is because he was appealing to people who are waking up like Robert Morse, who aren't watching mainstream media, and they realize what's going on. And they understand how money plays a role. World Bank plays a role. Goldman Sachs plays a role. Oh, John, he's appointing people from there. Yeah, they used to be in there, and they understand how bad they are. So it's, who knows? I'm not necessarily saying that I'm a Trump supporter, and you guys already are making the assumption. And even Robert Morse, you can tell some of you people didn't even watch the darn video, because he comes out and says, I don't like to deal with politics, and it has nothing to do with Trump. It was that we had to defeat the system that we have now. Now, what we have to remember more than anything, my friends, is that politics, this is an illusion of choice. We have to overcome and break through this false left-right paradigm that says it's either left or right or Republican or Democrat, because it's not. It's liberty versus suppression. And this is the main thing I'm trying to get across to you guys. And how many of you people focused on that? Now, a lot of you guys got it. Thumbs up for you guys. But a lot of you guys are missing the boat entirely. Entirely. It's all about our freedoms. And that's what Trump is all about. Now, a lot of people are going to say, well, he's controlled opposition, and there's a lot of uncertainty about who is in controlled opposition, isn't there? But you have to realize that Robert Morse brought out some interesting points. He appealed to me, because that's what we want as a species. More and more people are waking up, but the problem here is that very few people know what to do. And then the ones that know we got to be the best that we can be don't really know how to do that. And that's the main purpose of my channel. Over and over and over, I want you guys to understand how you play a role in either keeping us where we are or getting us out of where we're at. You play a role. You can be a hero or you can be a useful idiot. Now, I can call you guys a useful idiot because I understand it takes one to know one. I've been a useful idiot most of my life, and it pisses me off. When I reflect on it, I get peeved that I was so easily misled and then just followed the herd, and I was willing to glide with the stream of the crowd, unaware of what was going on. And a lot of you people are useful idiots, and you don't want to be one. When I reflect back on that part of my life, that's not a happy memory. That's not something I'm happy about, and you don't want to be happy about it either. In fact, most of us don't want to do that, but we are. Now, this is a term that Lenin came up with to describe people who helped him on his agenda. And it's because they're uninformed, they're ignorant. And people are calling me ignorant because they think I'm supporting Trump. I'm not supporting Trump. I don't know if he's controlled opposition. I don't know any of that. All I know is he's not what has been done. Again, we've got a false left-right paradigm. There are two wings from the same vulture that both can't fly without one another. And I know Trump doesn't have the personality to be the kind of president that we need. In fact, there aren't any politicians that have the right personality. Plato understood. You need a philosopher king. The problem with that personality is most philosophers don't want to be kings. They don't want to go in there and be a boss and tell people what to do. Now, I find it interesting how media plays a role, and a lot of you guys didn't pick up on that either. A lot of you did, but a lot of you didn't. And say, oh, it doesn't matter about the media, he's still this and this and this and this. I'm thinking, are you a useful idiot, or are you just another shill trying to sway public opinion and keep us divided? You have to understand how the world works, my friends. There are sick people who rule the world, and their MO is divide and conquer. Sexism, racism. They want us to fight amongst ourselves. We got to stay united, my friends. I follow this video up by another great video by Thomas Woods with an interview with a zombie. And a lot of you guys, I can tell, made remarks on it. You didn't even watch it. That was a very profound way of explaining the difficulty in trying to have an intelligent conversation with people, and all they do is go racist, you know, brown shirt, anti-Semitic, you know, one-word bullshit statements that are designed not to have a conversation. So if you or anyone else, or in fact every time anyone goes around and starts calling people racist, you're either a useful idiot not knowing what you're doing, or maybe that's your job, to keep people divided. We got to stop focusing on the differences in us. That's where they keep us fighting against ourselves. So why do so many people hate Trump? Well, the media is against him, so that makes you think that, well, maybe he's not part of them. But then again, you have to understand the layers and layers that there are when it comes to controlling us. Who really knows how many layers there are? We think we know the core, but do we really? I mean, Trump is apparently playing a role that could very well have been planned out long ago. The people who rule the world, the Fabian Society, was established over 100 years ago, and they know they can't change us too quickly. They got to keep us satisfied. Look, we'll give you the person who's supposedly not one of them, and maybe he is. Maybe he's not. Let's hope he's not. But I'm not for any politician, because I don't think any of them are qualified. If you don't know how to solve problems, you're not qualified to be a leader. That's why it's so important to understand what the first cause is. Once you understand there is a first cause, and when we can correct that, the fall of mankind, when we get reconnected, we won't have these subsequent needs that are being used against us, like the government. I've mentioned this before in my videos. The ultimate goal in life is to have anarchy, which is not chaos. Anarchy means no leaders. And anarchy doesn't work in a sick world, just like collectivism doesn't work in a sick world. But when we have a healthy world, when we're all reconnected, that's what we have. We want to be collective. We want to share what we got. We want to help one another. It's an automatic. We will have anarchy because we won't need leaders. Once we get reconnected and we gain back our sixth sense, once we have the right mentality, we won't have the type of situation we have now where we're out of control and we need someone to help us and guide us. The problem with this, of course, is now it's used against us. Now, we have to understand the role that media plays. To illustrate my point, I'll put a link down below. You can listen to the Benjamin Friedman speech he gave in 1961. He explained how the rulers of the world who owned the media in America was able to flip America overnight for Germany against Germany. We were coerced into that war. We were tricked into the war. And people say, well, wait a minute, John. Japan attacked us. No, we attacked Japan. We enacted an embargo on them long ago. That's the first act of war. Read The Art of War by Sun Tzu. When you enact an embargo on somebody, you're intending to kill them. That's the number one way you kill people. You starve them out. We did that to Iraq, and 1 million people died and starved to death in 10 years, mostly women and children. What are we doing? We did the same thing to Germany, but they were able to survive it. Japan didn't. That's why they came at us, and we knew they were coming. We let them happen because that's called a false flag. Too many useful idiots. If you don't know what false flag is, you don't know what a useful idiot is, you are one more than likely, like I was. And you don't want to be one. You don't want to be taken advantage of and duped and then help the other people with their cause. So we have to realize why we're being tricked and fooled. And then when it comes to hating people, there's a lot of reasons why we might not like someone. A lot of people are jealous. How's that go? They ain't me, so they hate me. That's why a lot of people don't like Trump, but a lot of it just has to do with his personality. And I can relate to that because I'm not a big fan of that type of personality, but I understand it. I understand there's a difference, and I wouldn't want to live in a world where I didn't have his type of personality. The key about personalities is that there are positive and negative traits. So I've done several videos on this personality test before. It's called Personalysis. I'm going to go over a little bit of today right now, again, because this is why a lot of people don't get along with other people. Why don't you like Trump? Well, maybe it's just because he's perceiving the world a little bit differently than you are. And all of a sudden you think that's not right. He's not obeying my rules, bad man. A lot of conflict comes when other people don't obey our rules, but they don't know our rules, and your rules aren't necessarily for everybody. To help you understand this, think of the poem, The Six Blind Men from India that find an elephant. And they all find different parts of the elephant, and they all describe what they think they found, and they're all different. And even though they're all right, they're all wrong. It's from a limited perspective. And when someone else, if one blind guy finds the elephant side of the wall and says, of the side of him and says it's a wall, and another guy finds the ear and he goes, no, it's an ear. The guy on the wall saying, you're an idiot. It's not an ear, it's a wall. I don't like you. This is the differences in personalities. Now, this personality test I'm talking about, the 4 main traits that Nolan used colors to describe, because color is vibration. Everything's vibrating energy. Our consciousness is a form of vibrating energy. The key is we can't do everything. So there's 4 main things we normally do: act, talk, think, and analyze. We can't do all of them, so usually 2 will dominate. When 2 dominate out of these 4, we'll have 3 pairs of polar opposites, or 6 modes altogether, just like those 6 blind men from India, don't you see? So reds act, they do things quickly. Yellows talk, they do things friendly. Blue people think, they do things creatively. Green people analyze, they do things carefully. So when you're red and yellow, you're an extrovert, you're acting and talking. The opposite of that, the blue-green, you're an introvert, thinking and analyzing. 2 more pairs of polar opposites. We have the yellow-blues, they're divergent. The red-greens, convergent. These people see the world completely the opposite. One's going through a convex lens, the other's going through a concave lens, and we don't like each other because we're obeying different rules. This is why a lot of people don't like each other. And once you understand more about Trump's personality, you'll realize why you probably don't like him. And in fact, most of your comments are going to tell you more about, or tell everyone else more about you than you are the person you're describing. A lot of y'all haven't figured that one out yet, but you will if you're around long enough and you understand people well enough. So what I'm going to do in just a moment, I'm going to let you listen to part of a tape I made just a little over a minute long, where I read part of my notes from this book, a 600-page book on explaining how we use this energy and we transform it down, and we either act or talk, think or analyze. And then there's one more pair of polar opposites. We have the red-blues, they're individualists, and the yellow-greens, they're conformist. But then, if we look at the 4 main personality modes, we got 6 traits there, but then we also have 12 secondary traits if we have those traits in more than one of our 3 modes, based on Freud's ego, superego, and id. You're like to, ought to, need to. So that's the way James Nolan would describe your personality. Your like to is your at-work behavior, your need to is your home behavior. Your like to, you learn from ages 0 to 10. Your ought to, this is what you like to do. This is your ego. The 0 to 10, that's how you were conditioned pretty much by your parents. It's what you think you ought to do, how you deal with authority. That's half emotion, half intellect. The ego is pure intellect. Then the bottom graph is pure emotion. It's what you inherit from your parents. So the bottom 2 graphs have emotion in it, and because of that, we have actually 5 main modes. We got the 3 main modes. You got the positive and the negative, positive and positive, but then you got the negative and the negative. So you got the like to, positive ought to, positive need to, and then you have the negative ought to and the negative need to. So the point is we can have negatives, and personalities can get in their negatives, but a lot of personalities don't. So you might say that person's a high red, but it doesn't describe them because they don't ever get in their negatives. And then, so what I'm going to read to you in just a moment would be these 12 secondary traits, and I'm going to read to you the ones that are all relative to a personality trait. Trump is high in red. He's a lot of high red personality traits. A lot of you guys don't like him because he's red, and it's all you. It's how you perceive him. So listen to the words. That's how he's perceived. So the vulnerability of every personality is the way the other people perceive him, because they're all like these blind men from India, and they don't understand one another. As Socrates said, know thyself, he would have been more accurate. He would have said, know thyself, because there's 3 main personality modes. So what happens if you're high red, high red, high red, you've got 3 more secondary traits. If you're high red here, there's a secondary trait. If you're high red here, there's a secondary trait. If you're high red here, there's another secondary trait. Now I can see this part in Trump right off the bat, and that's interesting because the perfect personality for a CEO would be red, yellow in his like to graph, yellow, blue in his middle graph, ought to graph, and then red, green in his bottom graph. So if you're red green in the bottom and red yellow on the top, that means you're going to have that secondary trait. And this will be the last one, and you're going to hear in just a minute. I'll remind you when I get to it. When you're red at the top and red at the bottom. Tell me this doesn't sound like Trump. Now when you look at the 3 blue personalities, I'm a triple blue. When you look at all those, you're going to go, boy, that describes John Rose to the T. But this will describe Trump, and you're going to find it really quite interesting. So I'm going to just let this play for about a minute or so. And let me see where the volume is on this. That should be pretty loud. And check this out with an open mind, realizing that it'd be a boring world if everyone perceived the world the way you do. But this is where a lot of conflict comes, is that every personality perceives the world differently. Different things are important to different people. And as a result, they're perceived by the other people because of how they perceive reality. So check this out. I'm just going to play this and let you guys listen to it.
Up 2 graphs, vulnerability. Reds are vulnerable to being too aggressive in order to get immediate results. Forthrightness at times may be interpreted as anger when such is not the case. Under too much pressure, red reason is canceled, and the negative parent becomes impatient, impulsive, and abrasive. Tunnel vision may cause errors in judgment, while rushing often causes mistakes in acting out a given purpose. In this negative ego state, the red has no room for adaptability or for using the suggestions of others. Red in the bottom to grasp vulnerability. The red person is often regarded by others as too forceful. He acts without thinking and sometimes even creates conflict in order to have some problem to solve. Hot-tempered and overbearing, this bull in the china shop can become belligerent and ventilate his anger unmercifully. Once polarized, he has limited capacity to listen and relate meaningfully with others. Any forced inactivity would be a punishment. Red in the top and red in the bottom. Vulnerability. This person can be misperceived as abrasive and overbearing. Under too much pressure, the red becomes blunt, bossy, and rashly pursues senseless objectives. He becomes too tense, tyrannical, and intimidating under stress. Diplomacy, sociability, and sensitivity are foreign to his vocabulary. Interestingly, if you only have two of these three high red traits in your three graphs, then you only have one of those three possible traits. But if you have if all three graphs are high in red, then you have all three of those traits. Insistence, activeness, assertiveness. In that order for the high reds. The high yellows, sociability, supportiveness, adaptability. The blues, conceptuality, empathy, imaginativeness. Greens, precision, control-mindedness, and predictability.
Okay, folks, those are the 12 secondary traits on this personality test that will help you understand people. I like that section where they talk about the vulnerability, because again, this will help you understand how other people are perceived. It helps you understand how other people perceive you. So once again, a lot of the reasons why people don't like other people is they're not obeying our rules. They don't do what we would do, and we automatically think everyone should do what we do, but that's not how it is. And it would be boring if that's how it was. Now, it's one thing to get into your negatives. That's a whole different game. I know a lot of people never get into their negatives. I even offered this test to Dr. Flora one time, and when she looked at it, she couldn't fill out the page about getting in her negatives. I had the same problem. When I was first given this test back in 1990, it took me a week to finish the page where it said, what are you doing when you get in your negatives? Because I learned a valuable lesson at an early age not to do that. And I always get a kick out of people who think they're pushing my buttons. You're not pushing my buttons. But if you want to get on the bad side of me, interfere with my mission to help solve these problems that we're suffering through right now. There's a simple solution to solve these problems, and there should only be one law. We're always going to suffer right now with this false left-right paradigm if we don't realize it's going to take someone that understands why we have problems to be our leaders. God, I am being attacked by something out here. They just won't leave me alone. I think they're the mosquito hawks. They're not biting me, but they sure are tickling me. Anyway, there's a simple solution, my friends. We got to satisfy two groups of needs, and that means we got to get reconnected. We got to deal with society. So this whole thing, the government, this is a big problem that we have. But remember, we can't fix these broken systems because they're made up of us. There's only one ultimate goal or way to solve the problems we have, whether it's with the government or education or the financial system. We can't fix the systems. We got to change individually because every one of the systems are made up of us. As long as the vast majority of us are sick, we're going to struggle where these systems are controlling us. That's why I say over and over and over, if we don't reach the tipping point, things are never going to change. We got to organize enough people to do a solid food vacation. Otherwise, everything is a distraction. Every person who starts saying, oh, Trump's a sexist, he's a racist, distraction, 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 divide and conquer. When are you guys going to wake up and realize how we're being manipulated? Robert Morse is very wise and very thoughtful in his video, and I'm being criticized by it. He pointed out good points, and then you look off on negative things. He knows that that the media is controlling us. He knows that we're being manipulated. And the problem is that it goes so many layers, it's who knows how many layers it goes. It's mind-boggling to think what we don't know, and how many layers there are to this, and how many stories that we believe in that aren't true. So you have to open up your mind, hold these two possibilities in your mind at the same time. That maybe we are being lied to by the media, and some of the people who've been demonized aren't really demons. Now, again, you can't help but wonder, well, why was the media against Trump? Why was even the Republican Party against Trump? Well, he's an asshole, no one wanted him. Well, maybe not. Maybe he really is against the powers that be. Supposedly he knows about the New World Order, and he wants to bring it, do something about it. But that also fits in the whole way a controlled opposition works. So who knows where it's at? I don't support him in any way. I don't have his personality. I don't resonate with someone like Trump. I'm a triple blue. And I know at least Trump's a double red, or maybe a triple red, and I don't have anything against reds. My brother's a red. He's a great man. He was raised by a good mom and has good values. So there's more to personality, or more to a person than their personality. But it explains why a lot of us can't get along, because we are perceiving the world differently. And we automatically assume everyone should perceive the world the way we are, and if they're not obeying our rules, and that's where a lot of conflict comes into play. So I'm going to put a link down below to these other videos where I talk about this personality test. And then always make sure, if you haven't done this yet, check out my seminar on how to do a solid food vacation, because that's the most important thing we need to do. Politics, even as Robert Morse said in his video, he doesn't want to get involved in it. It's a big mess, and I agree. Someone's got to get in there and clean up the mess. But it's not going to do much good unless we can reach the tipping point. So get excited, share this message. This is the type of stuff you're supposed to be focusing on. If you've been searching Trump did this and Trump did that, you're a fool. You should be out there telling people how to do a solid food vacation. Get to the tipping point, and then we can be in it for a treat.